Basically, muscle relaxant is a vague term. Uh, Muscle relaxant means the drug that reduces the muscle tone and or causes the muscle paralysis. They may be directly acting like dantrolene sodium. Second one, centrally acting, that is mefenacin, benzodiazepine, and peripherally acting. In anesthesia practice, the word muscle relaxant means the drug which peripherally act on neuromuscular junction. So also known as neuromuscular junction blocker, NMB. So in anesthesia, muscle relaxant we commonly term for the neuromuscular blocker that causes the muscle paralysis. It is very important to understand different muscle relaxant because one incidence I want to share with you. A newly passed MBBS doctor was posted in periphery PSC where his colleague was complaining of generalized body ache, and he was a case of sickle cell disease. So he used to complain of body pain, and the patient, means his colleague who was also a MBBS doctor, asked him to give some painkiller, and at that time by mistake, accidentally, a peripherally acting neuromuscular blocker was supplied to PSC. Generally it should be supplied to PSC CSC because it should be only kept in the operation theater where the anesthesia is given. Accidentally this drug was supplied to PSC, and his colleague saw the ampoule of the weak uranium, which is very similarly to the Voveron ampoule. Voveron is a diclofenac sodium, and he saw the weak uranium ampoule, and the muscle relaxant was written over it. So the his colleague said him, I inject this drug, this is a very good painkiller and muscle relaxant, so you will be relieved from the pain. And he injected the weak uranium, which is a neuromuscular junction blocker, to that doctor at the PSC level, and within a 5 to 10 minutes his colleague started to cyanose because it was a neuromuscular junction blocker, and he started to develop the respiratory paralysis, muscle paralysis. And in PSC, everybody knows there is no facility for proper resuscitation. So that doctor collapsed at the PSC side, and it was a very big issue developed how the drug was supplied to PSC. So always remember, the muscle relaxant term is a vague term. It is used for dantrolene sodium, mefenacin, and the peripherally acting. So in anesthesia, the muscle relaxant we use the term for neuromuscular junction blocker. So be conscious about it. Now come to the actual topic, peripherally acting muscle relaxant. The modern use started in 1932 in a tetanus patient to paralyze him because of the tetanic spasm. And in 1942, Griffith was a scientist, a doctor, who first used D-tuberculin, which was used in South America for as a arrow poison to kill the to kill the animals. So he first used in 1942 D-tuberculin during the general anesthesia to provide the surgical relaxation. And nowadays, the almost all general anesthesia, the muscle relaxant is used for different purposes. The important indication are for the tracheal intubation. When we use muscle relaxant during general anesthesia for tracheal intubation, because of all the muscles are paralyzed, vocal cord is easily opened up, neck is flags, relax. So tracheal intubation is very easy. Second one is to improve the surgical working condition, especially the surgery which is performing over the abdomen. The abdominal muscle tone is decreased, so surgeon is easily able to operate on the abdomen. Third one, to release the laryngospasm. Laryngospasm secondary to the tetanus are due to some laryngeal pathology. Third one, to provide the mechanical ventilation, especially in ARDS patient, tetanus patient, because in this patient, because of hypoxia, patient is irritable, so we need to paralyze the patient and sedate the patient to provide the mechanical ventilation. Now the classification of the muscle relaxant. There are two type of muscle relaxant. One is the depolarizer type of muscle relaxant. Second one is non-depolarizer type of muscle relaxant. The depolarizer, only one muscle relaxant is available, that is succinylcholine or succinylcholine. And in non-depolarizer group, there are three categories. One is long acting, second is intermediate acting, third is short acting. In long acting group, we have pancuronium, pipacuronium, doxycuronium. In intermediate acting, which is commonly used, is atracurium, cisatracurium, vicuronium, rocuronium. And short acting, one drug is under trial, under investigation, that is gentacurium, which is now not available for use in market. So how this drug is classified, or how they act? What is the mechanism of action? So this, as the name suggests, the neuromuscular junction blocker. This drug act on the neuromuscular junction where the muscles and the nerves meet. So normal anatomy, if we see the normal anatomy of the neuromuscular, it consists of the three important part. One is the motor nerve axon, motor nerve ending. Second is the motor end plate, muscles ending, where the motor nerve meets with the muscles, and the gap between these two is the synaptic cleft, which is normally 20 nanometer wide. Now we see the diagram. This is the yellow color, upper part is the motor nerve axon, motor nerve ending, and the lower one is the muscle end plates, and in between these two is the neuromuscular junction or the synaptic cleft. The normally, when a impulse come from the motor nerve axon, calcium channel, a calcium ions enter into the motor nerve axon cytoplasm, and there is a large quantity of acetylcholine vesicle inside the motor nerve, which is come to the synaptic cleft ending, and they release the acetylcholine. This acetylcholine into the motor hand plate come in contact with the acetylcholine receptor. After attaching this acetylcholine to the acetylcholine receptor, there is a voltage gated sodium channels which opened up, and because of the opening of this sodium channel, sodium enters into the cytoplasm and potassium get out of the cytoplasm. Because of the entry of this sodium channel into the cytoplasm, there is generation of the action potential, and this action potential is spread over the sarcoplasmic reticulum and leading to the muscle contraction. Now mechanism of the action of muscle relaxant. First mechanism of the depolarizer muscle relaxant, depolarizer muscle relaxant, which is only one drug is available, is the succinylcholine or succinylcholine. It mimic the action of the acetylcholine. It acts as same as the acetylcholine, but the difference is acetylcholine has a very short duration of action, while the succinylcholine has a long duration of action. It's roughly 8 to 10 minutes. It's have a duration of action. So because of this long duration of action, it causes the continuous sorry, sorry, continuous depolarization of the end plate, leading to muscle paralysis in the depolarization phase. So it is known as depolarizer muscle relaxant because muscle paralyzed in the depolarization state. While non-polarizer, it acts as a competitive antagonist of the acetylcholine. It attaches on the same acetylcholine receptor, but its attachment does not lead to the opening of the sodium channel, and it also prevents the acetylcholine to attach on the acetylcholine receptor because it already occupied the same space. So it does not lead to the generation of the action potential and lead to the paralysis of the muscle. This is the mechanism how it's happen. Impulse arrive at the motor end plate, causing the release of acetylcholine from the vesicle in the axon terminals. This acetylcholine diffuses across the synapse to bind the receptor on the muscle sarcolemma, and binding of acetylcholine to the receptor causes sodium to enter into the cell, causing the depolarization. If the threshold of the depolarization is sufficient, leading to action potential, it's spread or move over the sarcolemma, and sarcolemma now repolarized by leaving the potassium cell outside, and the acetylcholine now which is attached to the receptor is broken down by the acetylcholinesterase enzyme in the synaptic cleft. Now we come to the succinylcholine. It is the depolarizer muscle relaxant. It's it is a dicholine ester of the succinic acid, also known as succinylmethonium. It's deteriorate in the hot environment, so always should be kept in a temperature between 2 to 8 degree. It can be given by the route, venous, intramuscular, or the subcutaneous. The dose of this succinylcholine is 1 to 1.5 milligram per kg body weight. It have a advantage that its onset is very fast. It's take only 30 to 60 minutes to develop the muscle paralysis, and its effect lasting 3 to 5 minutes, and sometimes it may extend up to 8 to 10 minutes. This type of block, which is paralysis in the depolarization phase, is also known as the phase 1 block, and it is metabolized by the plasma cholinesterase. It is not metabolized by the acetylcholinesterase. It is metabolized by the plasma cholinesterase. So it does not require any reversal agent to wean off its effect. What is the side effect of succinylcholine? Sometimes there may be a atypical plasma cholinesterase enzyme which lead to the prolonged effect of the succinylcholine. So it may lead to prolonged apnea. So we need to ventilate the patient for longer time. Second one, hyperkalemia. Generally, the dose we use is 1 to 1.5 milligram per kg body weight, leading to 0.5 milligram rise in the potassium level in the plasma. So in normal patient where the potassium level is normal, it does not matter. But when there is a hyperkalemia, this already there is a hyperkalemia like in a renal failure or some other metabolic disorder, it may lead to cardiac arrest. So it is contraindicated when there is a pre-existing hyperkalemia or the metabolic disorder where there is chances of hyperkalemia. Raised intraocular pressure, muscle pain occur because initially there is a contraction of the muscle before the paralysis. So muscle pain occur in the post-operative period. Cardiovascular effect, the succinylcholine sometime may lead to bradycardia or the cardiac arrhythmias. Gastrointestinal disorder, because of the initial contraction of the abdominal muscle, there may be chances of the raised intragastric pressure which may lead to vomiting or aspiration. And last one is the anaphylaxis. The succinylcholine, because of histamine release, may lead to anaphylaxis. Now there is some contraindication to the succinylcholine. Absolute contraindication is the hyperkalemia, as I have already told you, when the serum potassium level is more than 5.5 milliequivalent per liter. The relative contraindication of the head injury, because there may be chances of raised intracranial pressure because of the neck muscle contraction. Glaucoma is also a relative contraindication. Muscular dystrophy, because in muscular dystrophy patient there may be chances of hyperkalemia. In a renal failure patient, again because of hyperkalemia. And post burn patient, up to 1 year it is contraindicated. Now come to the non-deportable muscle relaxant. The common non-deportable muscle relaxant used is the atracurium. It is most commonly used. It is intermediate acting muscle relaxant. It is having a unique property of half main metabolism. It is self-metabolized, self-breakdown in the plasma in a normal temperature. Its mechanism of action is as a competitive antagonist to the acetylcholine, and the dose of this atracurium is 0.5 milligram per kg body weight, and its action start within 2 to 3 minutes and it lasts for the 20 to 40 minutes. The side effect of this atracurium, because it causes the histamine release, there is chances of bradycardia, sometime bronchospasm may be there, especially if patient is already allergic or having the history of bronchial asthma. It is especially indicated in a patient of renal failure because it does not require metabolism or excretion through the renal route. So it is safe in a renal patient, safe in a hepatic disease patient, and safe in a lower segment cesarean section because it does not crosses the placenta. And it is also safe in a myasthenia gravis patient, in which we have to use the 1/5 dose of the normal dose required. Second one is the pancuronium. It is commonly available in the market with the name Pavulon. It is cheap drug, inexpensive. The dose of this drug is 0.08 milligram per kg body weight. It can be used by IM or IV route. Its onset is 2 to 3 minutes and it lasts roughly 30 to 40 minutes. Its 10% metabolite is excreted in liver and the 25% excreted in bile, and the 35% of this drug excreted from the renal route. So pancuronium is contraindicated in a liver and the renal disease. Side effect: pancuronium causes noradrenaline release, so it causes rise in the blood pressure, and it's also having a some intrinsic vagolytic activity, so it's also causes tachycardia, and it's also claimed to be causing histamine release. Second most commonly used drug after the atracurium is the vicuronium. It is also intermediate acting drug. Its dose is 0.5 milligram per kg by IM or IV route. It also take 2 to 3 minutes for the onset of action, and it lasts 15 to 20 minutes. It is also metabolized in the liver 30 to 40%, and its excretion mostly occur in the bile. So it is safe in a renal disease patient, but it is contraindicated in a liver disease patient because mostly it is excreted through the liver and bile. This drug is mostly used for the cardiac patient or patient having chances of arrhythmias, because it is claimed to be cardiac stable patient, does not causes any tachycardia, does not causes any rise in BP. So it is mostly preferred drug for cardiac patient. Rocuronium, it is the dextroisomer of the previous drug vicuronium. It is also intermediate acting. It is a low potency drug, and dose requirement is very high, 1 milligram per kg body weight, but it has a unique advantage of faster onset of action. Onset started in a 90 second, just similar to the succinylcholine, and its action lasts for 30 to 40 minutes. It also does not causes any histamine release, also cardiovascular stable. So nowadays the rocuronium is the preferred drug for cardiac patient. It is mainly excreted in bile, so it is contraindicated in renal failure, liver failure patient or liver disease patient. Now there are some factors which prolong the block of the neuromuscular effect. Means it prolong the paralysis of the muscles for longer duration as expected from us. So the other drug which we use in the perioperative period may prolong the effect of this neuromuscular blocking drug, especially the volatile anesthetic agent we use also prolong. Second one is the aminoglycoside. Third one, if we are also using local anesthetic agent and the diuretic agent. And there are some physiological variation changes which lead to the prolongation of the block, especially hypothermia and hypotension. Hypothermia causes delay and the slow in the metabolism of the drug, so it prolong the effect. Hypotension also causes the delay in the excretion and the metabolism of the drug. Hypokalemia, because in hypokalemia there is malfunctioning of the neuromuscular junction, is causes the additive effect on the neuromuscular blocking drug, and acid base disturbance. Now how the effect of this neuromuscular blocking drug are monitor? Neuromuscular blocking drug effects are monitored by the neuromuscular monitor, which consists of a nerve stimulator, electrogram, either visual or tactile. There are the 4 pattern which is usually monitored during the neuromuscular monitoring. These are tetanic, train of 4 response, double burst stimulation, or the single twitch. So we can differentiate if patient is having paralysis and we are not able to understand the paralysis is because of the depolarization drug given previously or because of the non-depolarization drug given later on, which drug is causing paralysis in the patient and patient is not regaining the patient. So by the monitoring this four response, we can differentiate between in a depolarizer group of drug there is a fad, gradual response is declined, so there is a fad in a non-depolarizer group, and in a depolarizer group of the drug there is a decrease in the response, equal decrease in the response to the tetanic or tenofovir or double burst stimulation.